Hey guys, this is JAde from Dallas Jamming, and today I want to talk about the best synthesizers for a total beginner. So let's take a look at that. The first synthesizer on my list is the Novation Base Station 2. The Novation Base Station 2 is a remake of the Roland SH101. Roland just came out with the boutique form of the SH101, but on the Base Station 2, you get a full-size keyboard and you get analog sounds, so that's a plus. I think the Base Station 2 is a great synthesizer for beginners because it's monophonic, it really teaches you the basis of synthesis with how everything is laid out, and it'll integrate well with your other gear later on. My second synthesizers on this list is going to be the whole Yamaha Reface series, especially the Yamaha CS. The DX has presets, so that'll let you save your own sounds, but on the Reface CS you have no presets, so it really forces you to find out what it is you're doing, what does the attack do, what does decay do, and things like that. My only gripe about the Yamaha Reface series is the mini keys. I'm not a big fan of mini keys, but I will say that on the Reface series, those mini keys are the best mini keys that I've ever used. The next synthesizer I'm going to talk about, although I'm not a big fan of the sound, is the Korg Minilog, or the Monolog, if you're on a budget. The difference between the Monolog and the Minilog is the Monolog is one voice and has a smaller keyboard, and the Minilog is 4 voices. They both have built-in sequencers. I've heard people have more fun with the Monolog than they've had with the Minilog, but that's just something I've heard. I've only owned the Minilog, so I can't really compare the two. The Minilog is a great synthesizer for beginners because it has an oscilloscope, so you actually see sound. You can see what's going on as you twist the knobs, you can see the waves, you can see as the waves are changing, so it's great to have that visual feedback when you're first starting to figure out what it is that you're doing to the sound as you're twisting the knobs. Minilog was also my first synthesizer, and it came right at the time when there were no affordable analog synthesizers, so it was a pretty big deal. If you want that analog polyphonic sound, the Minilog is probably your best bet. The next synthesizer I want to talk about is the Toria Microbrew. So the Toria Microbrew also has mini keys. Toria keys aren't the greatest quality. You see a lot of pictures of people with lifted keys and things like that. Even on my key step, the keys are, they're okay. They just feel very plasticky. They're not great quality keys. But besides that, the sound of the Microbrew is really awesome. The Microbrew has no presets, so just like the CS, you're going to be figuring out what you're doing, how you're creating sounds, what changes are happening as you're twisting the knobs and things like that. A plus for the Microbrew is that it works well with modular gear. I don't know if that's a plus for you, because then that's just going to give you more gas. But the sound of the Microbrew is very unique, and it's also analog, so I feel that's a great synthesizer for a beginner as well. The next synthesizer I'm going to suggest is the Novation Ultranova. The Novation Ultranova is a 37-key synthesizer with full-size keys. It's digital, and although there is a bit of menu diving, once you hit that sweet spot, you will get a very good sound out of that synthesizer. And although not the most intuitive synth that you can have, for the price, you can get a used one pretty cheap nowadays because nobody's really trying to get an Ultranova. Like, people are always craving analog synthesizers. For a good digital synth, I think the Ultranova is probably your best bet. Another great synth to learn synthesis on is the Korg ARP Odyssey. In my opinion, the Korg ARP Odyssey is a lot better than the Minilog, and that's why it's more expensive, obviously. The Korg ARP Odyssey also has no presets, but it's really a great sounding synth, and pretty much anything that you do on it will just be magical. You can make crazy alien sounds, you can make screaming leads, you can make fat basses. It does have a bit of a unique flat sound to it. It's nothing like a Moog or something like that, but the sounds that you get from it really start to grow on you, and having the sliders really helps you feel and see what it is that you're doing. The LFO on the Korg ARP Odyssey is probably one of my favorite LFOs. The only reason I sold mine was because of the slim keys, but I'm hoping to one day in the future be able to own the full-size version because it really is an amazing synth. They have the desktop version now, so if you want to skip the slim keys, you can also just get the desktop version and get a little sequencer, or get yourself a MIDI keyboard and play it that way. My next affordable synthesizer is the Little Fatty. The Little Fatty growls, okay? I don't care what anybody says. Sub 37, the new one with CV, whatever, a Moog is a Moog. And this thing growls. My first mono synth was the Slim Fatty, which is the rack version of this synthesizer. and I sold it, I missed it, and I ended up getting the little fatty. I'm glad I did, because it's so nice to set the modulation to different parameters on this synth and use the mod wheel with it. These are going up in price. You used to be able to get them for around 600 bucks. Keep your eye out. Sometimes you'll find somebody that is selling them for cheap, but I've seen them lately go for around 900 bucks or so, depending on the version. My next synthesizer that I want to talk about is the Opie Warm. The Opie One is a great beginner synthesizer, not only because it makes great sounds, but because you pretty much get a whole workstation with the Opie One. I made a video on the Opie One. If you haven't seen it, check out my channel. You will find more information about the Opie One. And last but not least is the keyboard version of the Waldorf Blofeld. You could also get the desktop version, but I'm suggesting the keyboard version because for a beginner that has nothing else, having a 49 key polyphonic keyboard will really make a big difference and will really make you feel like you're enjoying your instrument. I don't have anything against desktop synths. I used to love desktop synths, but I feel I have a much deeper connection when I have a synth that has a keyboard attached to it. Desktop synths are a lot cheaper than keyboard synths, and it's exactly the same sound. So don't feel that you're missing out on anything for not having the keyboard. You can get desktop synths a lot cheaper than you can a keyboard synth. So the Blofeld desktop is just as good as the keyboard version. But like I said, for a beginner that has no keyboards, and this is my last synth on the list, I would suggest the keyboard Blofeld. Although it does seem like a little bit of menu diving at first, the Waldorf Blofeld is a really amazing keyboard. It has a very unique sound. It's digital, and it has a very metallic-y sound. I'm not like a crazy fan of the metallic-y sound, but not all the patches you make have that metallic-y sound. And also it's very intuitive. At first it doesn't look like it because it only has like, what, 5 knobs I think? But sculpting sound is really awesome on it. If I were to buy one again, I would definitely buy the keyboard version just because what I said, I feel like I have more of a connection with a keyboard synthesizer than I do with a desktop synth. But regardless, they're the same thing and they both sound just as good. So yeah, those were my top synths for a beginner. Drop a comment below letting me know what was your first synth or which ones did I miss. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more tutorials and reviews. Catch you guys later.